Well, this episode was certainly a lot better than I expected. Not to mention, much more interesting. I knew coming in that Liko would battle Amethio, that they would end up in a dangerous situation together, and that Spinel was going to be up to no good as usual. However, I was not ready for the intriguing revelations that we got regarding the Explorers, Terapagos, and the still enigmatic Eternal Blessing, which all elevated this episode greatly. Throw in the unexpected appearance of Chalce, Coral, and the Syrian, and you get an episode that hooked me from start to finish and left me eager to see how this will all unfold and end in the next episode. So let's break the episode down. I will tell you exactly what happened, my thoughts and opinions on it, and just why it was so compelling. As Liko laments her loss and the test failure and the fact that she cannot use Terastal anymore as a result, Roy and Dot prepare to descend the mountain while being visibly concerned about Liko's state of mind. Now one must wonder about and question the logic here. Roy lost and no one spoke about moving on. Liko lost and suddenly they are ready to head back to the academy. Like what? I get that Ryan told Roy to come back while Grusha refused to let Liko try again, but I feel that they gave up a little too easily and fast. Guess Liko doesn't deserve a second chance, huh? Which is totally fair, right? That or the writers have some grand and convoluted plan for her redemption. So as they plan their next move, they are being watched by Spinel, who soon gets in contact with Chalce, who provided him with their whereabouts. She also informs him that Amethio followed him, which reminded me that yes, Amethio had Spinel under watch back in episode 54. I honestly totally forgot about this, hence why in my previous discussion for this episode, I erroneously said that Amethio was actively tracking Liko and friends. So Spinel says that he will take advantage of the fact that all his targets are converging in one place. As Liko and friends make their way down the mountain, they stumble upon a sign that directs them to the highest peak in Paldea. Eager to see the view and hoping to cheer up Liko, Roy wants to make the climb. However, given the cold and the physical and mental strain which would be especially taxing on Liko given her current state, Dot wants to continue descending instead. In the end, the choice comes down to Liko. She realizes that Roy and Dot are both looking out for her in their own way, showcasing just how in tune she is with the way others feel, which is one of her strongest traits. Ultimately, she decides to side with Roy. Unfortunately, as they make their way up the mountain, Liko lags behind, so she does not see when Roy and Dot head for a nearby cabin to rest, and a giant boulder moves to block the path they took, which makes her keep walking past the said path once she catches up, at which point the boulder moves back into place, preventing her from turning back and concealing the fact that Chalce had Medicham move this boulder to separate Liko from her friends. Amethio soon zeroes in on Spinel, who clearly knows Amethio is right behind him, so he intentionally leads him towards Liko, who realizes that she is lost. She and Amethio promptly stumble upon each other, much to their shock. Meanwhile, Roy and Dot find out that Liko is gone, so they begin their search for her. While Amethio wasn't looking for Liko, he's not about to let an opportunity to capture Terapagos slip away, and Liko obviously won't just hand it over. So it's battle time. Cerulege begins with Psycho Cut, which Floragato avoids with Quick Attack. Cerulege follows up with Shadow Claw, but Floragato uses Acrobatics to avoid it and to land a hit that Cerulege parries, though Floragato quickly retaliates with Magical Leaf, which lands a clean hit. Cerulege fires back by using Bitter Blade repeatedly, but Floragato avoids every single one with maneuvers that would make Spider-Man proud. She then counters with Magical Leaf, which Cerulege deflects. Amethio is amazed that Liko can now actually put up a fight, which, yeah, it's understandable. I think this battle highlights how far Liko has come from her humble beginnings. I mean, as she recalls when the battle began, last time she faced Amethio, she didn't stand a chance even though the battle was 2-on-1 in her favor. But look at her now, backing him into a corner and forcing him to use Terastal, which is what he does next. Her growth is undeniable, and having this be showcased so well here is perfect, considering that the previous episode did the opposite, at least it feels that way. So Liko cannot respond in kind by using Terastal herself since it's against Academy rules. This of course puts her at a clear disadvantage. Cerulege uses Phantom Force in succession and the Floragato is unable to avoid any of them. It doesn't help that Liko basically shuts down once things get out of hand, revealing a critical flaw of hers that was probably always there, but it became glaringly apparent, at least to me, here. Just as Cerulege readies a bitter blade to end the battle, Umbreon intervenes. Amethio accuses Spinel of setting him and Liko up to wear each other down, but Spinel feigns ignorance. He even pretends that he had no idea Amethio was here. While Liko believes Spinel is after Terapagos, he has something else in mind. He takes out the Eternal Blessing, aiming to show off its power. Now, I expected that this would make Liko and Amethio see a vision or illusion, considering that this is what the Pink Fog has always done. The very same Pink Fog that made Fried suspect that the Eternal Blessing was somehow related to Terapagos, Laqua, the Six Heroes, and Lucius. However, much to my surprise, the Eternal Blessing makes Umbreon go into Rage Mode, which gives it a massive surge of power, to the point that it takes out Cerulege with one hit. Not to mention it's also crazy fast. Terapagos is greatly disturbed by the Eternal Blessing and its effect. It doesn't help that Spinel uses it to provoke Terapagos, who transforms into its Terastal form in response. It proceeds to destroy the Eternal Blessing, which makes Umbreon return to normal and subsequently faint, revealing that the power-up it got was extremely taxing. Satisfied with the results of his little experiment, Spinel runs off, but Amethio and Liko chase him, hoping to get some answers. Spinel leads them into a labyrinthian cavern and eventually into a room with only one exit, which he proceeds to block, trapping Liko and Amethio. He meets up with Chalce outside to reveal what he learned. Terapagos does not resonate with Lacuium, aka the Eternal Blessing. In fact, they seem to oppose each other, something Chalce and I find intriguing. Spinel wonders about the status of the other end, which is to say Roy and Dot. Chalce says that Coral and Sidian are taking care of them, meaning that no one can come to rescue Liko and Amethio. Spinel reveals that his grudge towards Amethio stems from him being held in high regard by Gibeon, meaning that he was bound to get in their way eventually, suggesting that they have some grand plan in mind that Amethio would not approve of or support. Though I get the feeling that even Gibeon wouldn't. This feels to me like insubordination. Spinel and the other admins seem to be acting for their own benefit rather than that of their leader and organization. Also, he and Chalce reveal that they know that Amethio is Gibeon's grandson, which you would think would deter them from taking such hostile actions against him. But clearly it doesn't. If anything, this seems to make them hate him even more, like perhaps they have something against nepotism. It will be interesting to say the least to see how this friction within the explorers continues to evolve and develop as we go forward. So Roy and Dot call Fried to let him know that Liko is gone. Fried immediately decides to rush to their aid. However, since it will take him a while to get there, he gets the idea to call Grusha so that he can help as well. In the meantime, Roy and Dot decide to search for Liko themselves. However, sure enough, Coral and Sidian appear to impede them, which of course leads to conflict. It's hilarious that Roy and surprisingly even Dot did not know that Sandwich and Onigiri were actually Coral and the Sidian all along. Meanwhile, Amethio tries to have Cerulege break through the rocks blocking the exit, but it can't since it still has not recovered from the battles it had earlier. To compound the gravity of their situation, Liko has no reception, so she cannot call for help. The episode ends by suspensefully zooming away from the peak of Glaciado Mountain, emphasizing the severity of what's happening. So there is of course lots to unpack here. I already touched upon almost all the curious points as I broke the episode down, except for one small little detail that I saved for the end purposely because we had to go through the entire episode in order to have all the context needed for a conversation and analysis. So, what's up with the Eternal Blessing? Like I mentioned earlier, prior to this episode, the pink fog that summoned the visions of Lucius is exactly like the one that emanated from the crystal known as the Eternal Blessing. I surmised as a result that this crystal and its fog somehow evoke memories or illusions based on them. However, we now know that it can do so much more. It can make Pokemon significantly stronger and faster, which seemingly makes them go berserk as a result. They certainly look the part. They look like they've gone feral. So could the explorers, or at least Spinel, wanted the Eternal Blessing for the power it can provide? A power that could be abused to do many nefarious things, like the cliché world domination. It's possible. I think Gibeon at least, and by extension Amethio as his heir, wants something a little more unique. Though we of course have no idea what this is just yet. Though it's definitely related to Laqua and Terapagos. Speaking of which, Terapagos clearly knows what the Eternal Blessing is, right? Otherwise it wouldn't have gotten so triggered by it. This also indicates that whatever it is, it's not something good. Spinel concluded that Laquium and the Terapagos are opposites, so maybe something akin to yin and yang, light and dark, powers that repel one another. Though this begs the question of why Terapagos can summon the same pink mist when it encounters one of the heroes. Could it be that its pink fog is different from the one emitted by the Eternal Blessing even though they look the same? Perhaps. It's difficult to say at this point, though clearly the effect they have is completely distinct. Maybe it has something to do with will or intention. The wielder can determine the effect it has. There is obviously a lot more we can speculate on, but with so many details still unknown, we would be taking shots in the dark. Regardless of what the truth is, there is no denying that our interest and curiosity are at an all-time high. But yeah, that's basically it. I already weighed in on every other interesting part of the episode as we went through it. So overall, this episode was very fascinating. It went beyond the expected rudimentary meeting of good and evil to deliver an experience filled to the brim with enticing revelations that only added to the deliciously intriguing mystery that has come to define this series from the start. Every answer we get comes with yet another secret that leaves us wondering just what is going on, which ensures that we will remain glued to our screens going forward. I cannot wait for the next couple of episodes. Hopefully they build upon the beautiful foundation set in place by this episode to deliver even more jaw-dropping reveals. But that's the review and the video. Please let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below, and click on the links on screen now to see my reviews of the previous 3 episodes. I will see you over there. Thank you so very much for watching.